widen the highway, so that when the interstate did come, that it would be enough roadway for people to travel on. Where we live now, even though we go through the front door, a lot of that property is what they call servitude. So they purchased it, gosh, I must have been in maybe 7th, 8th grade when they came through purchasing our property for the highway. What was it like before? All the businesses were booming. We bought everything in the community. The grocery stores were in the community, the clothing store, Ray's department store down the street was where we purchased our clothing. I don't know what's in that building now because I don't travel in that direction too much. The drugstore was there, the barber shop, beauty shop, anything you could need in a community. It was right here in Scotlandville. My hope with the entrepreneurship program was that we would have been able to get our students to a level where they found ways to go back and redevelop those buildings to bring Scotlandville back, with some help, of course, and with some grants, and they have economic development grants, but I haven't gotten that program to that level yet. So that's still a vision for the future. All of the students who went to school here, we lived here. I walked here because I was that close. I know that there were school buses, but we didn't ride one. Everybody knew everybody. The teachers, they knew your family because the teachers pretty much lived in the community. Oh, they didn't live very far. They might have lived in Baker, which wasn't far. So they would pass by your house every day. And if you had done anything, they were going to stop and tell your parents. And my father was a carpenter by trade, and he built houses for people and remodeled houses. And as a matter of fact, there's an apartment on College Drive that he built. It's Fairway, is it Fairview or Fairway? Apartments on College Drive, Fairview, and there's another step right beside it. He was a foreman for the company, so he had to oversee all of that. He's also done a lot of city construction. Everybody worked. All of the men in the family worked. We had dads at home. I don't remember anybody who didn't have a mom and dad at home. I don't know when all that stuff started. And there's nothing wrong with it, I guess, but growing up in a home with two parents, we knew that we had to do right. We knew that education was important. We knew that we had to go to school because the teachers were going to tell. Now, I guess they would be a few times. I admit that. And my mom never found out, but I told her later when I was an adult that I had played with you. I would come to school, and then I would go in the building, and then I would go out the building and go across the track, and we'd go to somebody's house and we would have a good time. Don't do that. That was wrong. That was wrong, okay? I know you have seen to skip days, and you do stuff like that, but back in the day, my parents were really strict. They didn't want me to have a boyfriend. They didn't want me to go to the football game. Couldn't go to the basketball game. Couldn't go do anything. One day I just said, okay, I have enough. I couldn't tell you the story. I said I have enough. And I had asked for 2 weeks. Can I go to the homecoming game? I'll see about it. Every day, I'll see about it. Well, on the day of the homecoming game, you know what I did? I came home, I took a bath, I put on my clothes, I cleaned the kitchen. Mama said, what y'all dressed up for? I said, I'm just going to walk down to the store. And the store was right there. What's the store? Right there where the interstate is, as a matter of fact. There was a store called Fox Foods, and there was an ice cream stand, and a laundromat, and a barbershop, a bunch of stuff in their little complex. So I guess they bought all of that out also in order to make the interstate. But when I told her to walk to the store to get a program, she said, okay. car with my boyfriend, and we went to a nightclub, but I was too young to go in. So he went in, got us to Tom Collins, and brought him back to the car, and we sat in the car and listened to the football game on the radio, so that I would know when it was time to go back home. And my mama said, we came down there looking for you. I said, no, you didn't. Yes, we did. I said, oh, I saw you. I lied. God forgive me. I lied. But I got back home, and my dad said, young lady. I said, yes, sir. Come in here. Let me get my stockings off because they were brand new. I didn't want them torn and ripping. So I got my stockings off. I put on my pajamas. Security wanted. He said, where'd you been? I said, to a football game. He said, did you have permission? No, sir, I did not. Well, why did you go? I said, because I asked for 2 weeks, and you wouldn't give me an answer. So I just decided to go because that was unfair. He said, well, next time, let's not do that. I said, yes, sir. And he told my mom, next time, tell her yes or no. That was all he said. But sometimes you have to, don't get a piece of now. Sometimes you have to assert yourself. And as you're going off college, you're going to have to assert yourself and become women and fight for what you believe in and for what's right. And I don't mean to get in trouble, but I mean stand up for your rights, because there are going to be people who try to do you wrong. And I have another story that probably shouldn't tell this on camera, but well, I guess today is the day that you just let it all go. There were, I don't know if you've seen a picture of me when I was back in the day, but there's a picture where I was built like a Coke bottle, and that was finer than wine, finer than gold. And these men, and it was always men who were after me, and I would have to hide in the house sometimes because they were always looking at me and looking for me. Well, even the men teachers, they were older, and I resented the fact that one of them, one of my teachers, was always trying to catch me in the classroom and kiss me, and that really disturbed me. And even to today, I don't have that respect for him that I would have had for what he did. And he had daughters, so he should have respected that fact. And the fact that I was so much younger. But that's neither here nor there. I really don't care for him, I don't hate him, but I also don't want anything like that to happen to any of you. And so I'm telling you, those things do happen. And you have to prepare yourself. You have to be ready to say no. Say no to anything you don't want. Say no to it. And I know this has nothing to do with this documentary. I don't know why I'm going there with this today. I'm sorry, Ms. Rogers. This has nothing to do with your documentary. You asked me about the interstate and the buildings. Well, back to that. I'm sorry. You want me to stop?
No, keep going.
Please cut that out. Please cut that part out. When the business started to kind of get bad, that's the time the interstate came through. But we were poor, but we didn't know we were poor. We had what they call commodities. We didn't have welfare as they have it today, where you get a card and you can go to the store and buy food. We had to go to a place back here somewhere by the airport, and I think it was right where the UPS place is. But we picked up what we call commodities: rice, flour, cornmeal, pinto beans, some canned beef or pork that you could make a gravy with, a block of cheese. They had the 5-pound blocks of cheese, and they had some stuff called Spam, and that's how we made sandwiches, and we had that for breakfast. We didn't get grits, we got oatmeal, and there were 8 of us. And so even though my father worked, there were times when there was no work, or when it just wasn't enough for all of us. So we ate that, and their white beans. We were grateful to get food, but we didn't know we were poor. We had no idea, because there were other kids who had a lot less than we did, a lot less. So we never experienced just knowing that we didn't have. Now, I had shoes that my godmother bought, and I wanted to wear them to school because they were dressy. And the other shoes she bought me, you know what Oxfords are?
Yeah.
The black and white saddle Oxfords. Y'all know that? They still make those?
Yeah.
For real? I didn't know that. Well, that's what they bought me for school. Those shoes never tear.
They don't.
They last forever. And mine lasted forever. And I didn't want to wear them because other kids had tennis shoes and stuff. So I would wear the Oxfords out of the house and then put the church shoes in my book sack and then come to school with the church shoes on. So they didn't last very long that way. And by church time, the sole was coming off, and so I ended up having to wear the black and white Oxfords to church. We didn't have a lot of clothing. We always had a lot of food, but we never had a lot of clothing. I can recall having 5 dresses, one for each day of the week. We didn't wear shorts. We didn't wear pants. We weren't allowed to. Women didn't wear pants. And this is not back in Prohibition. This was 1969 and prior to. The only time we had our legs out was PE. They had these things you call your jumpsuit, but it was bloomers. And you put it on, it buttoned, snapped right here, and it had a big bloomer thing on it. And that's what we did in PE. For the winter time, when it was cold, they had us wear black, I guess we call them stretch pants with the little thing under the bottom, where now you have the whole footy enclosed. Well, we had it under the bottom. And like I said, the store was right down the street. So they always had the white sweatshirts and the black pants for us for PE. But we couldn't wear pants beyond PE. That was it. My first pair of pants that I ever owned was in, other than that, was in 1974 when I graduated from college. I went to work at Exxon, and you had to wear pants. So that's the first pair of pants that I ever owned. And after that, I'm just not really, I wear pants now because it's cold in these buildings, but we wore dresses all the time. So do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
M. Randall, can you see Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Burley went to Scotland.
Is they coming at 25 after?
Okay. Yeah, 2025 after.
Go
So
to the
what
car and get
was,
some
what was
headache medicine.
here before the interstate? Was the,
Yeah. Houses, residence,
Residential.
residential area.
and when did the interstate?
This part, the
Take
last
it.
part was built in, they started in the late 60s. Late 60s.
Phone
Ended
ringing.
up in about,
What's
they
going on with the
finished
phone
in
like
about
this?
74, 75. The interstate used to stop at Hollywood
You got that?
until 1960, 1974. 1974. 73, 74. He used to stop at Hollywood. And then they extended it from Hollywood to
over here.
Scenic Highway between 1969 and 1974. And that's when they bought all the houses, wherever the interstate is, always was residential houses. And Hardin was a one-way road. It was a highway. Hardin Boulevard, now it's a 4-way lane. It used to be a two-way road. And all those were residential on both sides. And when they built the interstate, they bought those houses and cleared it out in between the late mid-60s and in the late 60s, they bought all their land and cleared it out. And then
Need administrator F-101?
they started building the interstate between 70 and 74 and completed it in like 74, 75 from Hollywood to Scenic Highway. Now that I know because I was here.
Right. Cause you went
See,
to
I've been
Southern.
here since 1962. I came from Baton Rouge. I graduated from Walnut Hill High School in 1962.
Right here is a landmark that made Southern University a land-grant institution and the history behind Scottsbluff. And as you can see, this whole embankment along the Mississippi River is Scottsbluff, which the campus sits on all the way in the back. As we head across the street, you can see a statue of the first president, Joseph Samuel Clark. And directly to my right, all the way next to the statue, is the gravesite of Joseph Clark and his sons and his grandson. And directly to my left, one of the houses on campus, as we make our way across the street to the statue. And this building right here is an administration building for all the faculty and staff. And the statue that I'm walking up is of the first president of Southern University at Baton Rouge, Joseph S. Clark.